I'm a bad motherfucker.
But given the new, more reasonable tone of the Leader of the Opposition, I wonder if he might take this opportunity to reassure Canadians that he does not support extremist white nationalist organizations like Diagalang, nor wants their votes. Leader of the Opposition refuses to say a simple thing, that he condemns Diagolon because they are a white...
Well, why wouldn't he want their votes? I would want you to... A politician wants anybody's votes. What the fuck?
A nationalist, violent organization, that he rejects the endorsement of Alex Jones, an extremist conspiracy theorist who denied the deaths of 20...
Yeah, the night before what we just witnessed, yeah, they let the Zionists run wild, throw fireworks and all kinds of shit, didn't do shit.
Kids at Sandy Hook. These are things that concern Canadians that he should also answer for. If he wants to talk about secret plans, he would probably do well to actually clear the air for Canadians about his seeking for support amongst members of extremist right-wing organizations like Diagolon.
That is again false.
But given the new, more...
I like how they did that. Let me...
With the Trudeau government getting killed in...
Uh-oh! Alright, now let me put this out. Because... Give me 1 second here. And I'll tweet this out. I already had it ready. Alright, let me fix this up a little bit. Jeremy McKenzie, how's it going, man?
What's up, sir? How are you? Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. How you been doing?
Good. Not bad, man. How are you?
Pretty good, pretty good. Down south of the border, if you're north of the border, in Canada, truly international broadcast here, once again.
Nice.
So I brought you in last time we did, I don't know, a couple hours or whatever. I figured we'd talk about 45 minutes or so just to catch up on things this week because you're back in the news. Diagolon's back in the news, and so
every quarter it seems to be.
Yeah. Well, you know what? A friend of mine messaged me. He's like, "You should try to get Jeremy back on the show." And I was like, "Well, I just had him on for a couple hours." He's like, "Nah, this story's hot. See if he'll come on." Yeah. I was like, "All right, okay. I guess I'll do my job and see if he'll come on." So he graciously accepted. And I know you have a lot of stuff going on in your real life. You mentioned the court stuff and all that. So thank you for, and you do your own show too. So thank you for taking a little time to talk to us tonight. But we're not going to go 2 hours like last time. What's going on up there with Diagolon? And there was a parliamentary meltdown, I guess, about it a couple of days ago, and they kicked Polyev out of the House and all this stuff.
They sure did.
Oh, so
yeah, they ejected it. Well, because he called the prime minister a wacko, yes. Which is a very mild term for clinically insane and detached from reality and probably addicted to drugs or. They enjoy parliamentary privilege, so they're allowed to basically, from what I understand, say whatever they want while they're in the House of Commons in the Parliament building. They're not they can't be held legally liable for anything, which is crazy.
It's like that in the US too, and the UK as well. Yeah.
Oh, really? Okay. Yeah, so they're able to say, people are like, "Oh, you got to sue. You got to say." No, I can't. No, you can't. There's nothing you can do. They can literally say whatever they want. They're saying, "Well, they're domestic terrorists." There's a domestic terrorist list that is open to the public that anyone can go look at. We're not on there. I'm not on there. No one's on there. They're just making things up. So what happened was, real quickly, 2 years ago, during the Ottawa convoy protest, I'm sure a lot of people are familiar with, there was, 500,000 people. Well, maybe not that many, but quite a few, nearing 100,000, I would say, in and out of the Ottawa area. And there was all kinds of different trucks and campers and people, camped out. And, my girlfriend and I were down there. And so I don't even recall this. I don't think I met these people, but she drew a little doodle of the Diagolon, the pin here on this guy's trailer door 2 years ago. It's still there, or it was. I had the guy take it down. The conservative leader has been campaigning and going around and talking to people, doing what politicians do when there's an election coming up. They pretend, they tell you what you want to hear and pretend they're your friend, and so you'll vote for them like they're always doing. He was photographs coming out of this trailer, and there's it's visible in the shot that this little doodle is on there. So the hysterical, effeminate media figures in Canada jumped upon this And, because I'm a conspiracy theorist and a crazy person, but because Mr. Polyev was standing next to a doodle someone drew 2 years ago, therefore he is in the Prime Minister's words, at a Diagolon encampment and meeting with people. We have no connection to this. I had to release a whole statement on it because it went on for, it's day 6 now we're going into this. I'm not sure if it was mentioned today, but for the last week has been a national scandal where they're demanding that he denounce them or me and us and all this kind of stuff. I've never liked the guy. There's a picture of me shaking hands with him. I did it as a troll for this reason, to get them. Oh my God, they're working together, because I knew they would, because I was proving a point that they don't do research. They're not journalists. They're just clickbaity, like tabloid propagandists. That was the point I was making. This was, we've been the summer of 2022, I think now. So I was just playing with them at that. So they have this photo and this doodle, and that's evidence enough for them, for the leader of our country to get up and accuse, his opposition leader of being in league with domestic terrorists, which is just absolutely insane, and proof that it's over for them. They have no ammunition. They have no plank. They have no platform. They have no real criticisms. They have nothing to say. They need something to distract from the fact that everyone's dying. Suicide rates are higher than ever. People are dropping dead in the streets from fentanyl. Countries being flooded with migrants from all over the place. Violent crimes out of control. There's nowhere to live. Nobody can afford bread. Nobody can get a job. So what do we talk about? Well, there's a doodle here. We'll lean on the old reliable, the very easily excitable, effeminate, ultra hysterical Canadian voter base, and we'll just tell them there's some kind of craziness going on.
Now read this. Oh, go ahead. Finish your thought. I didn't mean to. No.
Well, yeah, and he doesn't like me either. He called the police on me, and tried to have me arrested. The Conservative Party leader did. Yes, a couple years ago. So I mean, we're not friends.
Oh
right?
Yeah, because of the what? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. And you know what? I don't support them. I don't like especially career politicians the most. I think they're parasites. I think they're despicable, really like the lowest quality humans that we have. I think they exist just find the easiest way to make a good living for themselves. They're all millionaires. They're some of the highest paid politicians on planet Earth. I think only you guys in the United States have richer politicians than we do. Yeah. And at the same time, our people are poorer than they've ever been. So that being said, though, it's hurting the country. It's hurting people that are genuinely trying to figure things out, and I'm very critical of the conservative base and their supporters and so on, but a lot of them are good people and they mean well. They're ignorant. They don't know what's going on, and they're kind of lazy, and they're not really interested in finding out. They don't like to go into the the hard areas and dirty spots, as you can imagine. So I had to, in the interest of everyone's mental health and sanity and cutting back to reality, and this is, everybody's talking about it, nobody's saying it. If I'm not going to say anything, who is? So I released a statement saying, listen, look, I don't like these guys, I don't like any of them, but for the Prime Minister to say that there's some kind of connection here is ridiculous. It's not even tenuous. There's literally none. Not to mention there's photographs. So you've got Polyev standing next to a flag. There's photos of people hugging the Prime Minister with this exact pin on. They're loyal, hardcore fans of mine are up there as a troll and this kind of, just in case for this exact moment. So what's worth, standing next to a doodle someone drew 2 years ago, or hugging a guy or a woman in this case? So the whole thing is just more, again, to the point that I was always trying to make, is that this isn't a serious country. The people in charge have no idea what they're doing. They're completely detached from reality. And this is just, again, the gift that keeps on giving.
Now, Cornpop, he said Jimmy Dore is doing, this is a super chat, so I'll read it. He said, Jimmy Dore is doing shows soon in Canada. You should hit him up so he can spread the word on your situation when he does his comedy shows. That's not terrible. Not a terrible idea at all.
If anyone knows how to get a hold of Jimmy, I'd love to talk. I've always respected him. From what little I know about him, but he's, an anti-war guy, and he will take unpopular positions to do, say the right moral thing, and I respect that. So I would talk to him. I have lots of time for people like that.
Now, first off, what politician... I saw the clip we just played from Trudeau. I think it was from yesterday, and he's like, "Will you say you don't want these votes? Will you denounce Diagolon? Do this?"
We're not voting. We're not voting for him anyway.
Well, yeah, you're not voting for him anyway. But first off, what politician goes out and says, "I don't want somebody to vote for me"? Like that's kind of political malpractice in the first place, anyway, right? But
this was me. I mean, I wasn't trying to help the conservative. Again, this is what's true. If it helps the conservatives, so be it. But it's what's true, and that's what's important, and that's what we need to get back to. Tucker Carlson said something recently on Joe Rogan that was just bang on, where if everybody could just get back to telling the truth, everything would get fixed very, very quickly. Very quickly. If we were just stick to what's true, and no one can do it. So, it is what it is. What's true is what's true, and what's true is we have nothing to do with those people. They have nothing to do with us, and this is just a shenanigan show to distract from the fact that the country is a dumpster fire and an international embarrassment.
Well, they have to have something. They're down 20 points in the polls, right? Like, I mean,
they're going to get smoked. This didn't help them. This made it wait. I've got my phone's been buzzing for days. I've got interviews all over the place. The New York Times is trying to talk to me. I've got the National Post on there. There's people all over the place trying to figure out what this is going on. So he just finished it. Like Diagolon has finished. I mean, we're not solely responsible, but we've driven a few nails into the coffin of this government, and I'm fairly confident to say that this is definitely the last one. They're not going to win. They're going to get steamrolled. I'd be surprised if they win 30 seats in the next election.
And that's just a complete wipeout, by the way.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. We've got 338 seats right now, so they're going to get smashed. They're going to get absolutely run over now. This is preposterous. They have even their own people, their own supporters are embarrassed and humiliated that he's going this far and they're doing this. And worse still, it's still viewable online. You can go to hategate.ca for anyone that's interested in how insane Canada is. Karima Saad is a kind of a freelance investigative journalist, and she dug up the whole thing. We got the Freedom of Information Act. I talked about a lot of this last time I was on your show. Yeah. And he just gave everyone a blank check to reopen that wound and investigate. Well, what is that? What is Diagolon? This was the fantasy world he used as his justification for the Emergency Act, where bank accounts were frozen, veterans and old women were beaten in the street with machine guns, police with no name tags on, bank accounts frozen, people put in jail for years on end, political prisoners. All of this was justified by this yet again, the same government, and they have the audacity to do this. The RCMP disproved it. Our national police, as much as they wanted not to, CSIS as well, our security establishment. They said there is no group. We tried there; it doesn't exist. It's basically 3 or 4 or 5 guys on the internet talking shit. There's no organization. There's no. They spent. I'm just guessing, maybe $30 million investigating us. I know 100 different people in my audience told me that CSIS came to their house, which is like the FBI showing up. Yeah. And what do they have to show for it? This is all readily available for the public, and he just threw off a big neon sign for everybody to go check it out again. So they just buried themselves. I'd like to say I'm surprised, like I can't believe they're this dumb. But lately on my show, I had a joke where it's like going down an elevator, and each level lower, you don't know how far down you go, and each level is a new level of stupidity. And you get down to level 99, you're like, this must be the bottom. 100. 101, 102. No, now we're at level 999, and the Prime Minister says, Diagolon's against everything we stand for. Level 1000, level 1001, level 1. We don't know how low it can go, but it's pretty bad, man.
Well, it's really bad for Trudeau. I'll ask you a political question, and I have some other questions about Canada just in general as well. But is there any chance that they replace him as leader before the election? Because I would think that would be what I would be angling for if I was a Liberal supporter, because he clearly cannot win another national election. But I don't know. What are your thoughts on that?
It would be great for me, for my hat, because we could claim like that was the last substantive thing that ever came out of his mouth was us and me and his goat figurine. That was his last hurrah, was going to war with a fake country and losing. He went to war with a country that doesn't exist, and he lost and ruined his career. You'd have to think if they have any interest in winning at all, or even going to try, he's got to go. I don't know if he's going to continue on as leader, but I don't see how they're going to win. I don't know who they would replace him with. They have
the problem. Yeah,
they've got some people that could probably be serviceable, I suppose, but they're not well known. They don't have any gravitas, or they don't have anything. Like the momentum behind the Conservatives is just massive now. It's like, it's very different than America. They like to say, "Oh, Poilievre is just like Trump." He's nothing at all like Trump. He's not even right wing. He's left wing for starters. But as far as the momentum and desire for change, it's similar to the United States, where it's like you're going to have to kill him to this to not work. Like I don't see any scenario where he loses. I don't think it's possible. So.
Well, and it just keeps getting worse. Like you look at the polls, and it just keeps getting worse and worse. Now I know the election is a little ways away, but
the longer he stays in, though, the worse it'll be.
Right. That's what I'm saying. Go ahead.
Although I have heard rumors that August 1st is they're shooting for, that's the window they want to maybe have an election.
Oh, to call a snap election. Yeah.
It could happen anytime. And actually, when he was kicked out of the House, which is I don't think ever happened, by the way. This isn't a routine thing. This isn't like, it happens all the time. I've never heard of this happening. I can't recall a single time. I'm not a huge political junkie a bit, but one of our guys, my buddy there, Alex, the ferryman, he's been paying close attention for a long time. And he's like, I don't think I've ever heard of this. And the entire, conservative caucus left with him. They all just left. So the momentum is there. you know, they don't have the power to do it themselves, though, because they're, you know, a minority. They've got basically a coalition government. The Liberals are buddy-buddy with the NDP, who are just full-blown communists. And, you know, we could go another year like this before they're due for another election, I think. It's fall 2025. But the state of this place, it's ready to come apart. I mean, it's I don't know what it is, the equivalent in the United States, but it's $2 a liter for gasoline here, you know, in the summertime. And once we get the fall, wintertime, people are already... There's basically bread lines as it is. Any of the grocery stores in you know, towns and cities that are below, you know, the places that are like, it's better food, a little bit cheaper, like slightly, like 3% cheaper. Lineups around the block, down the street, you know, hundreds of people, because that's how bad it is. Same with the gas station. Oh, gas is going up 4 cents tomorrow, so there's 200 cars, and they're out of gas. You know, Morgan was just telling me there's a bunch of gas stations. There's no more regular gas. You can only get premium gas now. You know, and it's just. It's a tinderbox. So I don't know how much longer we can go on like this without, like, we basically don't have a functioning country anymore. So it's just like, how long do you want to let the fire burn before you call the fire department? I don't know.
Yeah, Ferryman's another guy I'd like to talk to. Derek Rance as well, to get them on the show here sometime, hopefully soon. But so for those who don't understand the parliamentary system, Trudeau's able to call a snap election at any time during his term, I believe. I'm not in most parliamentary democracies. That's how it works. Democracies, quote unquote. That's how it works. But there's a limit. So I don't know what the term is in Canada, if it's 5 years or 6. But I think in the UK it's 5, right? So
it's 4 or 5, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah. And so they can run the clock all the way till the end. But they can call a snap election when they think they have the upper hand, or whenever they think they can do better. And he's done that before, by the way, Trudeau, if I recall correctly.
We had two elections in 2 years.
Yeah,
like one in 2019 and then in 2021. So their grip on power is not great. And if it wasn't for these communists and the NDP, they're just self-interested. They don't care about the country at all. They're just there. They're getting something out of this. I mean, I don't pay too close attention to them because they're worthless scum parasites, but I mean, they're interested in themselves, because if they cared about the country, they wouldn't let this go on. It's been 9 years of this. It's just wreckage and ruin. And they're richer than they've ever been. Our politicians in this country are richer than they've ever been in history. And the people of the country are poorer than they've ever been in history. When are the riots going to start? You know, like, this is outrageous. There's no justification for this. And, you know, to use your position of authority and power like that to enrich because how can you argue they haven't? Their salaries have gone up every year. They give themselves a raise every year. They're doing better than ever, and everybody's doing worse than ever. So, you know, is that treason? What is that? Your job is to manage and govern the nation for the benefit of the people. The only people I see benefiting are the politicians. So, you know, jail when?
Jail win. By the way, I see Kira Kirsten in chat, and she's been in our chat a little bit since you came on last time. She says, thanks for having Jeremy on. Love you both. Well, I love you too, and thank you for the 5 spot. I appreciate that.
Sweetheart.
And and also explain the NDP for Americans listening to this. This is a coalition government with the NDP and the Liberals controlling things, right? What is the NDP, and what do they stand for?
Yeah. So they're the New Democrat Party. They had different leadership over the years. They had ups and downs. They were poised to be the opposition for. They were making a run for it, but then their leader died. Jack Layton. He passed away from cancer. I don't know, maybe 7, 8. It's hard. My sense of time has just gone. Was it last year or 10 years ago? I don't even know anymore. But before today, he's been dead for a while, and then they've got this Indian guy take over, who's just an absolute champagne socialist, driving around in BMWs and wearing Rolexes and designer suits, and be like, "I'm a champion of the people," like as cookie cutter typical of a guy you can imagine. He's banned from the United States. He's banned from a lot of countries because of association with Sikh Khalistani terrorists, separatists, which have found a foothold and a home in this country. All 3 parties were out there celebrating their bullshit Khalistani, let's blow up some airplanes and kill people. The worst Canadian terrorist attack in history was done by them. The Air India bombing, that was Sikh, separatist terrorists. And they're up there, putting the hats and the costumes on and singing the songs and humiliating. The Indian government had to denounce them. Officials in the Indian government at the horror of Canada. Has Canada lost their minds? Yes, India. They certainly have. You guys are free to take these people back anytime you want. If you want, to do a partnership, we can maybe round these guys up for you. You can pick them up at the airport. We're happy to give them to you. Whatever you want to do. I don't want them here, and they're killing people like crazy. The other day, there's car accident. Like they're driving, going 150 the wrong way down the highway. Police are chasing them, smash into a car full of people, kills an infant, a whole family. Trucks are running into buses. People are. I mean, it's mayhem. The most wanted in the GTA, Indians, all of them, migrants. You know, gang warfare is wide open across the country. They've got they're carrying swords and they're calling them kirpan. Oh, it's ceremonial. It's a kirpan. It's a weapon. I can't carry. I'm Scottish. Can I carry a knife in my sock like the ceremony? No, I can't. But they can because they're special. It's out of control and they don't belong here. And everybody's sick of it. Everybody's sick of it. But they need to pander to them. They have 17 seats in the House of Commons. There's more representation for India in Canada than there is for Atlantic Canada, which is where Canada started, by the way. So the native sons of this country have less representation than a bunch of people from India. It's ridiculous.
And I'm glad you hit on that because I already had a talking point. The seat question was what it said there. Yeah. That's all it said. I think you kind of hit on the seat question there. And I don't think people in America even realize. Well,
they're our Mexicans. You know, the Americans are worried about all the Mexicans in America. We have Indians up here. It's the same problem, different country.
I love Mexico, I have to say, all Mexicans. Yeah. But it's kind of it's similar to that, except they're like more militant, I would say, maybe even. Now,
but I mean, you can't blame the people that when the people in charge throw the doors open and say, "Come get free stuff," and you live in a place like Mexico and you're poor, in India, whatever. Of course, they're going to. So it's not a personal thing. It's not like I just hate I gotta get it. It's not personal, but listen, buddy, like this is my house and you're all just coming in and eating out of my fridge and I don't appreciate it. And I understand that, maybe my wife told you could do that. I know nobody asked me and this is my house at the end of the day. So that's really what it is. And it's not, not really personal yet to that extent, but the longer this goes on and they're just flooding the trade schools. There's videos of them. Just they all get on WhatsApp. They're cheating right in the class. They're messaging each other what the answers are and stuff. Taking 9, 10, 11 attempts to pass like trade school exams to be electricians, truck drivers, all this stuff. And they just let them. They're not qualified. They're not smart enough. The average IQ in India is 76, which is handicapped by Canadian standards. And they're just pushing them through, force them through. I had to just go pick up, actually not this phone, but one similar to it, from the police, which they held illegally for 2 years, no warrant, no retention order, but they kept it anyway because they're the police. What are you going to do about it? I go to pick it up. There's a huge lineup inside the foyer of the police headquarters in the city, all Indians and Africans and a couple of women. And I was like, what is this lineup for? And they said, oh, this is the lineup for the applicants for the police force. Excellent. Good. I like it. It's not going to help them retain power. It's going to weaken their whole grip on the country, which is fine with me. I don't mind that at all.
Now, Cesis, you mentioned them. Why are they focusing on Diagolon so much, or Trudeau at least, instead of a Chinese influence, which their top spy publicly complaining about Chinese influence and treachery there in Canada, and why are they not talking about that? Anyway, go ahead.
I mean, I don't know. I would love. I've offered numerous times. They've talked to everyone around me. CSIS has pretty much, but not me. And that's just proof that they weren't trying to understand. They were just trying to destroy me. They were just trying to bury me.
But they're looking for people to flip and testify against you. Yeah.
Right. But they investigated. We got the documents and published them, and they found, there's nothing here. But that doesn't help the government, who is definitely in bed with the communist Chinese government. They've got these clandestine, police stations all over the country. They call them police stations. They're just like little cells of Chinese influence, people, of the Chinese government all over the country. You've got MPs who are being investigated. They're taking money. They're taking bribes. Police are selling them secret. I mean, they have a tight grip in this country right now. And that's not good for the government in power. So they need a scapegoat. They need somebody else to point to. And I don't think CSIS. I think, for a while, I can understand them doing their job from the outside looking in. You see these stories, you see this bullshit, made by, written by these Jewish supremacists at the Canadian anti-hate networks. And they go, well, let's investigate. We got to look into it. And if you're going to be thorough, it's going to take time. It's going to take a year, 2 years, 3 years to really turn over every rock and make sure. They didn't find anything. And the government doesn't like that, so they're just going to pretend it anyway. And CSIS doesn't. They can't make public statements. They can't go on TV and counteract. They can only write the reports and give it to the government, and the government does what it wants with them. So somewhere between those documents that we took, which had fairly high ranking, at least in the police, they had superintendents and chief inspectors and stuff in the police, which is, you know, the RCMP was pretty high up, saying there's nothing here. This is just nonsense. It went from that to the public safety minister, a politician who's overall the boss of CSIS, saying, "Oh yeah, it's a well-organized militia. It's going to take over the country." This is how they justified the Emergency Act. It was me and it was us. That was the reason. So they're just going to double down, I guess. And I don't know what's going on. If CSIS is just like throwing their hands up, like I don't know. Like I as much as I've criticized them over the years in my show, is kind of, you know, bombastic and, you know, aggressive rhetoric and stuff. And it's me but when I talk to other people like this, you know, I'm in your house right now, and other people, if they have serious questions, I try to give them serious, sincere answers. And, you know, I would have, you know, worked with CSIS and talked to them in the interests of the country going in the right direction based on what's true. And people can't make good decisions if they don't know what's true. That's the whole point of intelligence in the first place, to know what's going on. Like, I went and fought a war believing all the wrong things because I didn't know what was going on. I nearly died for it. And a lot of my friends did die for it. So I have no interest in people believing lies. It doesn't help anyone. It doesn't help anyone in the country, me, you, no one. So I would have been fine with that. If they could find whatever you want to know, guy, you can come on over. You don't have to hack my phones, do this. You can just come over here. You can sleep upstairs if you want. I don't care. I've got nothing to hide at all. But you guys had to run around being all skull, you know, cloak and dagger nonsense, being silly about it. Like, I'm a veteran. I fought 14 and a half years in this military. I fought, you know, a war for this country. I have no criminal record. I'm not hiding anything. I've only ever been interested in, you know, what's good for us and what's good for the country. And you know, I'm being treated like an enemy for doing that, which tells me that the people in control of this country are who the enemy is. Now,
Canada's housing crisis, you mentioned that. Just how bad is that up there?
Well, my girlfriend Morgan, she has her own home, and she's renting it out to basically 6 different men with full-time jobs because they can't afford to live on their own. That's how bad it is. Like, you're renting rooms for $600, $700, $800 a month. If you want to get a bachelor apartment in like, not even, you know, like Halifax here on the East Coast, it's not a bustling, it's not Toronto, it's not Miami, it's not New York, right? But it's, you know, $2,000 a month, you know, for a 1-bedroom apartment, which is most of your income. And then you've got food and heat and lights and everything. So people are choosing, and I've been saying this for years, soon you're going to have to choose between, do we want heat on in the house or do we want food in the fridge? Because you can't have both. And it's gotten really bad that way. And that's driving up, you know, the prices because competition for housing is so high, and they're dumping millions of people in a year, 1.1 million, 1.2 million, 1.3. There's more and more every year. They think the more people we have, the better. People don't, you know, more people doesn't equal, you know, more success. It matters who you import. I don't understand. I mean, you could make a logical argument, which is what I've been shifting to recently, rather than like, oh, look, you know, Indians are dirty and they shit everywhere and the country's on fire. It's a dumpster. It is. It's the dirtiest country on earth. There's a landfill the size of a city on fire at any given time. It's disgusting over there. So if your problem is, and they'll say, look, we don't have enough people. The workforce is dwindling. We need more people. Okay, that's an argument you can make. So where do we get more people? Well, the logical answer to that would be, you know, the people who started the country in the first place. What is your country? What's the, you know, ethnic, you know, makeup of that country? If I was running Japan and there was a large Japanese diaspora around the country, and we're like, damn, we need more people. Who should you target? Well, those Japanese people first, ideally. Second after that, like, well, we've run out of Japanese people to bring over here. Well, I don't know. How about Koreans? You know, they're close, you know, we could go there. And then, you know, Southeast Asia, you at least want to keep it as close to as it can to maintain, you know, the homogeny and the social unity and people understand each other. And no, why India? What the hell does India have to do? Except that they have billions of cheap people for, you know, cheap labor, you know, to fill in all these. That's all it is. It's not, again, in the interest of the country. It's more for corporations. They want this capitalism thing to just keep going. More money every year, no matter what happens. So it doesn't matter where they come from. We're not mass migrating people from Europe or Western Europe or Eastern Europe or even Russia or even the Mediterranean or even you know, the Middle East. We're mass importing people from sub-Saharan Africa and India and Pakistan, who are, I mean, not to insult them, but listen, man, the stats are the stats, and these are the lowest IQ, lowest successful, lowest industry, lowest skilled people on earth. How is that going to help us here? How is that going to help? And they don't speak English. They don't have our history. They don't have our culture. They don't share any ties to this place, to any of the people here. They don't have ancestors and family members buried in graveyards for 300, 400, 500 years around towns in this place. They don't give a damn. They're paving everything over and putting up giant monkey statues all over the place. How is this helping? It's not. So just on the fact, it's like you have a castle built out of stones, and you're like, oh, we got to do some renovations. We're gonna do it out of clay tiles now and cotton candy and sticks and stuff. That's no more stones to replace the other stones. Like, what are you doing? It just makes sense to me. But
now
we live in a.
I was just gonna say, well, what's the answer to this? Because I had a helper with more Canadian knowledge than I have with some of these questions. But he said increased Canada's population almost 10% in a few short years. I mean, what is the answer? I mean, do they need to deport like Trump would say? Maybe.
Yeah. I mean, there's in the last 9 years, at least. I mean, at a bare minimum, since this government's been in almost 10 years, 9 years now, it's just been wide open. Just show up, be here for 3 years. That's it. 3 years, you're Canadian now. You stand on the magic dirt, you watch some hockey games. Boom, you're Canadian now. Can I go to live in India or Japan? If I stand in Japan for 3 years and I go to some sumo wrestling matches and eat some sushi, do I magically turn Japanese? Can I run for Japanese parliament? Can I be president of fucking Japan now? Am I Japan? Of course not. And everyone would find that ridiculous. So why is it the same here? It isn't. It's logically inconsistent. And it's just fear of, opposing the anti-white racism that exists.
And I say the same thing. Look, I live in Mexico, but I'm American. I'm never going to be Mexican. Right. Even if I were to get a Mexican citizenship somehow. And I have a residency here, by the way. I have an official residency.
American Mexican.
But I would still be an American. Yes, I'd be an American who lives in Mexico, right? Like, I mean, I would never be Mexican. There's no way for me to become Mexican.
Yeah. You have to have an overwhelming or at least a strong majority country for there to be order and cohesion and efficiency and for things to work. You can have minority populations that contribute and be accepted into the family as like adjacent.
Yeah,
we're not the same. We're different. You have your but if you agree to live by our rules and standards and you believe in what we believe in and you're going to work hard and you're going to stand by us through thick and thin, you'll fight wars with us, you're willing to sacrifice the same way that we are, then you get the hyphen, right? Or it's like you have American, Mexican American, African American, Japanese American, whatever. It's like you're part of the team as like an
affiliate, right? Yeah.
You're a cousin, you're in the family, right? It's not, you don't just poof, now I'm you. No. So if I went to Japan and I'm not going to do that, I just keep using it because it's basically an ethno state. It's the easiest comparison. They could give me citizenship. I'm not Japanese. I would be a Japanese Canadian or whatever the hell. I would be a subset incorporated into their society on their team. But I'm not ever going to be Japanese. Just like I'm never going to be Indian. I'm never going to be Nigerian. I'm always going to be Canadian. And the original Canadian flag was a red flag with the British Union Jack in the top left corner. Signified we were a dominion, we were a vassal state of the British Empire. But the crest was, if you go top left, right, bottom, you can look up the pre-1957 Canadian flag. It was England, Scotland, Ireland, and France. That's where these people came from. That distinct individual countries with their own languages, their own culture, their own history, their own cuisines, music, all that stuff. They come here, they all mix together, and they created a new country on a totally different continent of a new people called Canadian, much in the same way the Americans did. Okay, what were the original Americans? They didn't just spring up out of the ground. They're British colonists, French colonists, and Dutch, German, from all over Europe, and they mingled together and they created a whole new thing called an American. You can't just move there, stand there, and go, "Oh, I'm just here now. It was the dirt. I breathe the air, and poof, I'm George Washington. I just transformed." No.
It's not how it works. Also, my cat has figured out how to open my door, and I don't know how he's done that. But he is. You saw him? Yeah, he's figured out how to open the door, and I don't know how the fuck he's doing that. But he has invaded the program here. I'm gonna speed run through some of these questions. I told you I wasn't gonna keep you all night. But I do have some more questions. Deanna Sharif, do you know who that is?
I sure do. Unfortunately, I do, yes.
Now, could you explain this? I looked up a little bit when I got the question sent to me, so I know a little bit about it, but she finally got arrested. But what about the double standard there as far as that goes?
Well, she's learning a hard lesson. She's one of these perennial kind of circus freak counter protest. One of these people that's just in the street all the time with their phone screaming at people for clicks and stuff on Twitter. It does nothing for anyone. It doesn't affect any change. It gives them attention, though. That's why they do it. And for years, she had been assaulting and threatening and people, on our, anti, freedom, government critical people. She's there just to be seen and to be heard and whatever. They were in Twitter Spaces, talking about how they could murder my girlfriend and this kind of stuff. So I have no sympathy for this piece of trash. No, I don't care at all. But they were doing the state's bidding. She was hitting people with megaphones. They've got these noise machines that you can, it'll damage your hearing. They're so loud.
Yes.
That's what they're designed to do. And an MP had hearing loss, a number of other people, police officers. So she was allowed to do this until she became, there's always a cause with these people. 1 minute it's the trans kids, the next minute it's gay rights, the next minute now it's the Palestine thing is in vogue, right? Like I've been, sympathetic to the Palestinian people because I don't like seeing mass genocide. I don't like seeing children be wiped out and murdered, which is what the Israelis have been doing for decades and decades and decades. And she decided, they're like, oh, now we're doing this. And she did her same old trick she always does. But she did it to the chosen people. Now she's in jail. She's denied bail, and she's got assaulting a police officer, assault with a weapon, all of this stuff. So she's cooked. I expect her. She's probably going to get time, and that's what happens.
The same old stick. We were just watching it just happen at UCLA. You go up against a certain few there, and things change, right? But anyway,
you'll see what happens. All of a sudden, Mr. Crazy Conspiracy Anti-Semite guy. Oh, maybe there's something to this, huh? Maybe. Maybe.
Yeah, we were going over that a lot of the day, and it's funny how all these peaceful protest tactics and civil disobedience has been championed for years by the leftist media in America, and the Civil Rights Act and the protests against Vietnam. But if you're protesting Zionist control and Israeli actions, then by God, we better shut it down quick.
They're going to destroy you to prove how not powerful they are. They have to show how little influence they have.
Yeah, and they passed that bill through Congress yesterday. I won't get into. I don't know if you saw it or not, but
I heard.
Yeah, it was
once again to prove how not powerful. Just talking shit about them is jail. Now that if there's one thing that I know that I've seen over the years, it's when you tell white American kids between the ages of 15 and 25 that they can't do something with no reasonable explanation whatsoever. They obey that immediately and never ask a single question again. Obviously, so that's going to definitely not blow up in their face.
Yes, and then this whole thing, these aren't really students, and then they're interviewing the people as they're being led away, and they are all students. They're like, yeah, we do go to school here. Anyway, okay, now let me look through a couple of these others. Now, this I don't know about, but it was sent to me, like I said, by somebody with more Canadian knowledge, but it says, can you tell me, I don't know about this, actually. Can you tell me about the 2020 Nova Scotia mass shooting and the strange scenario surrounding it? What do you believe happened? I don't actually know this. This question was sent to me.
This was early on in the COVID years, April 2020. It was right down the road from where I'm from, where I grew up, where I live. And there was a guy, Gabriel Wortman was his name. He had they say, a mock-up police cruiser. So what happened was he went on a rampage, killed a pile of people, 23, 24, 25. I mean, a couple people have committed suicide since then. A witness was murdered, probably by the police. So he killed a lot of people. He withdrew $500,000 from a bank, like a not a regular bank, a place that police informants would get their money from, this kind of thing. And was just on a rampage heading towards the city, and then he eventually was shot dead, executed really in a gas station parking lot while he was trying to get gas. He was still in the car, and the police just walked up and smoked him through the windshield without a word. They were not letting him survive. Now they say, oh, he had a fake uniform and a fake police car, which would confuse everybody. And we had no idea. The police say, we didn't know anything about this. We weren't prepared for this. Who could have seen this coming? He worked for them. Everyone's fairly sure of that. The police car, they say, was a mock-up. Well, there's allegedly he bought this or somehow got it at a police auction. It was a decommissioned police car. He recommissioned it and got all the decals made for it. And you could never tell. It looks identical. He has RCMP uniforms. People question, well, is there anybody in the RCMP with the same last name as him? Oh, no, there's no. He had relatives in the RCMP. They lied all over the place. They stopped taking questions. They barred reporters. They promoted everyone involved, and then just washed their hands of it. There was never an explanation. There was no motive given, nothing. He just mass murdered a pile of people. Something went wrong. There's a lot of, nonsense. There's a few books out there. Paul Palango wrote one. I haven't read it or seen it, so I don't really know exactly what his theories are, but the RCMP denied help from the Truro police, which is immediately where this was happening. The Halifax police down the road, they said, oh, no, we got this, and called back up from like 6-10 hours away RCMP units from New Brunswick and Cape Breton because they keep it in-house, right? They didn't establish an outer cordon, an inner cordon. They didn't do an emergency alert. They didn't warn anybody. They just quietly tried to cover this up as he was running around murdering people all day and night for a day and a half. a 56-year-old denturist, and they acted like it was the fucking D-Day invasion, and they were overwhelmed. You know, it was just a travesty, very embarrassing, very humiliating. You know, just the RCMP are completely inept and incompetent. They can get butthurt about that all day if they want. Oh, I'd like to see you try. Motherfucker, I ran around fighting, you know, armed gunfights to the death with me and my friends, you know, against 40, 50, 60 guys with machine guns and rocket-propelled grenades and mortars and snipers and booby traps. Don't fucking sit there and tell me you can't handle an old man. You know, an old man with a gun is on a oh, it was so scary. Shut up. Shut up. You're a bunch of pussies and you fucked it up and you didn't take responsibility for it. Nobody was even investigated. It was just negligence. Just like there's no attitude or appetite to punish people. Like after 9/11, what happened? Anybody go to jail? No, it was the biggest intelligence failure in American history. Thousands of people dead. Everyone's promoted. Of course. Why wouldn't you? Why wouldn't you? Same thing up here. So, but immediately after that, the government jumped on that and said, oh, well, you know what we got to do is ban guns, which is what they did. And they've banned basically all semi-automatic rifles. They've taken handguns are now, you know, if you still have one, you're allowed to keep it, but you can't buy those anymore. We're getting close to the situation where it is in like England and Australia, where you could maybe get a hold of a duck hunting rifle or something, maybe a shotgun if you're lucky.
Shotgun for like home defense.
More or less,
yeah.
It's getting really tough to find firearms, which is what it really is about. People want to say like the government set it up. I don't think so. I think they do what politicians always do, is never let a crisis go to waste. They saw an opportunity to pass one of the things they wanted to do, disarm the citizens, and they went for it. And they got away with it because we didn't have a strong gun lobby. We didn't have any strong voices to tell people why that's necessary. You had a couple of booze bags and what's called the CCFR, the Canadian what is it called? The Canadian Center for Firearms Coalition, or I don't know. They said, oh, well, it's our right to shoot at paper plates and do our sport shooting, which is obviously not going to hold up when you've got piles and piles of dead people. You know, you want to shoot paper plates versus that's the argument in court. Yeah, good luck. They didn't have the stones to say why do you need guns? And it's like, well, to protect ourselves from other people. Guns are for shooting people. That's what they're for. Okay, let's stop pussyfooting around and saying it's just for sports. Just no, they're designed to kill. That's what guns are for. Okay, and the it's like a fire extinguisher in your house or a first aid kit. You hope you never need to use it, but if you need one and you don't have one, you're fucked. So that's the last bulwark, the last obstacle in the way of a tyrannical, out of control government that would want to hurt you. And to think that, well, when you try to say the liberals are going to, round people up and shoot them, maybe not. Well, the next government, maybe not. Well, what about the one after that? What about the one after that? You've now paved the road. You've set the conditions for that to happen now. Now we don't have that. Now it's possible that someday they could. And the citizenry has no means of arming themselves and defending themselves from a government that is increasingly out of control one year over the last. No one would make that argument. I tried to make that argument, but I mean, who am I? I don't have a platform. I don't have funding, and I don't have the backing of the Conservative Party to get votes, which is all the CCFR was for. So we lost our gun rights because, once again, you have drunk fat women and effeminate weasel, pussy men that can't tell the truth and can't fight and can't get dirty, and they just don't want to. There's just a whole nation of cowards up here, and it's we're paying for it more. It's only going to keep getting worse, guys.
Now, I have a few more questions here. Does the Native American community, I guess the indigenous community in Canada, have a human trafficking problem? And if so, what's spurring it? Now, you can tell that was from a guy with the Canadian
I'm not sure.
Knowledge. You don't know much about that? I'm not either.
But the Native American communities are basically a mess, a lot of them. Their chiefs are very corrupt, and the government just throws money at them whenever there's a problem, or they just throw money at it, and they just eat the money. And nothing ever gets fixed. They have a severe leadership problem. In Canada, we have it's complicated, but they're basically on reserves. Like it's not. Yeah, and they're incentivized to stay there. If you leave the reserve and enter society like everybody else, well, you lose access to all these benefits and free money and stuff, which they don't want to do. So they're incentivized to stay there. There's two ways to make a man a slave: is to pay him not to work, or make him work for no pay. And they're paying them to just sit around and do nothing and live in these reserves while their corrupt chiefs eat up all the money and complain and say we need more money to fix things. And they never do. I don't know what the trafficking is. There's the Highway of Tears situation in Western Canada where a ton of these women go missing, and they say, oh, well, we don't know what's going on. There's very high rates of domestic abuse and murder in those communities. A lot of the natives are killing their own women, is one thing that they don't want to admit or talk about. But, I think that's a problem they should be solving them. Instead of throwing their hands up and saying, oh, the government, you got to help it. Why don't you solve your own problems? I think we should just rip up those Indian Act. They're hundreds of years old, these treaties and all this stuff, and say, give them a big pile of money one time only and say, that's it, you're on your own. Govern yourselves. You want to say you're your own separate people, you're your own nation. You're like, okay, well then go be that. Go do that then. And that's the only way it's going to get fixed, because you can't have an outside alien force. I mean, we're the white man, right? And they're not, and they're their own people, and they deserve to govern their own affairs and determine their own destiny. And they can't do that if they're shackled to the chains of the federal government, sucking on welfare money forever. So it's not helping them; it's just hurting them, I think. So, I mean, that's something probably no one wants to have that conversation either. But I don't. The current status quo we have isn't helping them. It's not helping us. It's just garbage. So, but nobody wants to change it because it's working for the people upstairs.
Well, it's a similar situation in America, actually, with the American Indians. I don't know about the women disappearing and all that, but they get huge government benefits, and their leaders build these casinos and get rich, and they have the highest rates of, like drug use and drinking, and just it's really
sad
dystopian here on some of these reserves. It's not really where you want to be, but they do get money. Like you said, you get handouts from the government for being on there.
Yeah,
etc.
When I was in jail here in Western Canada, the prison population is like 98% native, and they were talking about every few years the government's like, everybody gets 10 grand.
Yeah,
and they go like, oh, I can't fucking wait, man. I'm gonna go get a new fucking pile of blow. They just party it and drink it and whatever, like it, and they just do it every few years. They just hand them stuff. They had a hunger protest one year. Or this chief was on a hunger strike, and she's from a reserve that's like a sheet metal shanty town. It was terrible. These people were living in impoverished, like third world conditions. She's on a hunger strike. She gained weight. Like she's in a tent outside the building for a couple weeks or months, and people are sneaking her candy bars. And she's like, I was just having soup. Like, no, you're not. You're full of shit. I've never seen anyone be obese and go on a hunger strike and gain weight, but she sure did. And, again, guys, if the natives are mad about it and like, you guys need to find your own leadership. You need to find strong, courageous men inside your community that are willing to take the pain of change and fighting uphill. And it's not going to be fun. It's going to hurt, and you have to sacrifice. But that's the only way you guys are ever going to get out of that. I'd love to help them do that, but I'm not. I'm just a douchebag with a microphone, and I'm an odious dirtbag, as the conservative leader has called me.
Far-right extremist leader. Yeah, all right. Now,
that's right.
All right, I got 3 more, and then I'm going to let you get out of here. Out of all immigrants, this is kind of a spicy one maybe, but out of all immigrants, who's the most damaging to the fabric of Canadian society on average?
I would have to say the Indians, because they're the most different from, the default, Canadian, like they're not anything like, they don't speak the same language. They're from literally the other side of the world, and they're being mass imported in crazy numbers, and they're not integrating. They're setting up giant, deity statues in these cities. They're killing all kinds of people. They're running organized crime rings. They're stealing. I mean, and they're not even hiding it. They're openly laughing about it. They're making TikTok videos. One guy, he lost his job. Thank God. He was a bank analyst making $98,000 a year. So here's how you get free food. You can just go to this food bank and
saw that.
All this food you get. Yeah, all that shit. And they're in like Lake Louise and stuff in Alberta. Oh, look I'm in Canada. Or she's like, oh, look, I'm in India. I'm in Canada. And it's all India. They're all laughing. And they have to put up signs where it says, please don't poop on the beach. It's not a toilet. Like, why do you think that is? It's because it's a bunch of people from the other side of the world that do that frequently and see nothing wrong with it. And now they're here. Why wouldn't they keep doing that? They're having honor. I saw there was one guy just hacked his wife or whoever to death at a creek with a sword, and like, oh, it's their culture. There's a lot of anger and frustration with that. And the people that are saying, oh, that's not true. You need to move to one of the cities then. You need to go spend some time in Toronto or Calgary or Edmonton or Halifax, anywhere where there's a large, hives of them, and see how much you like it.
I saw that guy with the food bank video though,
and there's a lot of that.
Of course, they don't usually check if you go to the food bank. They figure you're hungry enough, right? Like they just give you the food. They don't check.
Making $98,000, and he was, he was a bank analyst for TD Bank or something, right? But again, if you were Pakistan or India and you're like, we need migrants or we need more people, well, where are you going to get them from? Russia? You should get them from the place that is most like you, most compatible, right? It's like if you have an animal whose diet is primarily seafood, And you're like, oh, we'll start feeding it plants and beef, and like, why is he getting sick? Because it's not it doesn't fit. It's not it's good. There's going to be issues, right? And we don't like that. We want stable lives and things to run smoothly. And this is
if I started giving this cat tofu instead of tuna, I think he would not be happy with that.
It's not, and it's not like we're getting there's a few thousand a year, like 1,000 a year or 500, and because like how many doctors and engineers can there be? How many brain surgeons can there be? Like I'm sure there are some, and they'll point to some. It's like, well, this guy is the chief, scientist for medical research, and this guy's like, good for him, and good. We probably, if we don't have one of those our own and we can't find one anywhere else, and the only guy we could get happened to be Indian, then bring him in here, because that's going to keep Canadians alive, and that's what I care about. What about the other 99 million though? They're not. What are they doing? They're getting hit by trains and pooping on the beach and stabbing people. There was a guy who in Vancouver, this is all the time now, and the media won't talk about it, but this guy, he asked this dude in lineup at Starbucks somewhere in Vancouver, can you not, he was vaping and blowing smoke right in this kid's face, his daughter's face. And he's like, can you not smoke in front of my daughter? So he goes, oh, stabs him in the chest and kills him. Like that's how we have to live now. And anyone that says like, how about we don't have these people here? Well, that's racist and you guys are extremists. You know what's extreme is ignoring the deaths of your own citizens for some kind of imaginary virtue that you invented. That's extreme. That's crazy. That's a mental illness. I'm not the one that's extreme. Okay, I'm reacting to extremism.
Cornpop says, heard the same about the disappearing women. They drink but can't digest it and go insane. Yeah, it's because of their
there's a genetic.
They're not genetically able to.
They think they think Europeans have been drinking for a long time,
right?
Like
that's
thousands of years, and
yes.
they introduced this to the native culture where they didn't have alcohol, and they just don't have the. They don't handle it well. It doesn't,
just
which
totally
is again,
destroys them.
Yeah, it's not a slight against them. It's like, listen, some people are allergic to certain foods. It's just like. Just not good, right? And so when people are when they say that these differences between different races and people doesn't exist, like, well, you're a science denier, you're a biology denier,
Yeah, and they just can't handle it. It's because we've evolved for thousands of years drinking alcohol. That's right.
But not all the time. There is. No,
I'm not gonna say I've had a few slips myself. I won't say that I'm the champion of handling alcohol. But
same. But I mean, same. I've seen Ryan Dawson drink a quart of whiskey and not even seem to be. So he's different though. He's strange.
Yeah, it's true. He's native himself. Yes. All right, now two more. How prolific is Antifa in Canada, and what can be done to counter them if they are prolific?
There is a presence, but an interesting question. Glad you brought that up. So there's a kind of a dark horse that's coming around the world. Apparently, we've got our eyes and our spies looking into this. So recently, the government's all up in arms about the Dagon thing, which is silly and hilarious, but again, it's distracting and it's damaging to the country because we're not focusing on real problems. Just last week, and this May 20th, a few weeks from now, the Revolutionary Communist Party, the RCP, is having its founding Congress, I think, in Montreal. They were just in the street in Montreal the other day on a march, smashing things, attacking people, destroying property. They are literally terrorists. Communists have killed 100 million people around the world over the years. And it's not a couple of guys. They've been recruiting on universities for at least 4 years. The leader, as far as I can tell, is a guy named Joel Bergman, Jewish, as are their entire leadership core. They're all basically Bolshevik Jews. And they've released videos. I mean, I can send them to you if you'd like, saying we're the Communist Revolutionary Party and we're looking for a force of fighting men to overthrow the state and we have to destroy the capitalist. I mean, I was like, isn't that the biggest Fed post of all time? Doesn't even make the news. Doesn't anything. They have thousands of members. They did marches in 7 or 8 cities. Do you imagine if I had?
What if you did that? You'd be under the jail, dude. Are you kidding?
Diagolon flags and hundreds and thousands of people across the country and cities all at the same time saying, yeah, we're going to rise up and smash this corrupt system. We're going to get a form. I would be in jail so fast. I'd be killed immediately. But they're doing this, and people laugh like, oh, yeah, the communist. Listen, they don't care about quality. They care about quantity, and there's a lot of freaks. And the RCMP, and I suspect there's going to be a problem in America, too. I would take a look around America, guys. The RCP, some of the guys looked on Instagram. They've got accounts and chapters and little cells all over the world. So this is a global thing. This isn't a Canadian thing. I thought it was a Canadian project. It's global, the RCP. And they're poised to move. And the RCMP's biggest threat assessment that's come out recently or was leaked said our biggest concern for security is that when younger Canadians figure out and learn that they're never going to own a home, they're never going to have a good standard of living, they're never going to be able to go on vacation, they're never going to that there's basically no point. You're just going to be a slave. They're going to freak out. And they're all young. They're in their early 20s. You don't know anything. You're just angry and pissed off at the system. I easily could have been captured in this. I didn't grow up knowing about any of this stuff. I could have been 19, 20. Sounds good to me. Let's go. Commies. Sounds good. I'll be a communist. Wave a red flag around, smash things. I'm pissed off. You got millions of kids disenfranchised. That's what they're looking at. And these guys are all over these universities handing out pamphlets every day. So you can laugh and say, oh, they're just these weak little soy fucking faggots. What are they going to do? Well, there's 10,000 of them. And there's 100 of you. So, that's what we're looking at. And it's only going to get bigger. And the conditions for them to really blow up over the years as a standard of living plummets and there's no answers and the government can't do it, they're going to blow up because that's just always what happens. And it's seems deliberate. And, where did communism come from? Well, it was a Jewish Bolshevik idea to engage and enact a global government system. And that's what they're moving along. Everybody wants to go on about the World Economic Forum, the global government, New World Order. Guys, it's right there. That's what communism is. And it's in your streets right now, marching along. And in the streets of Toronto, Montreal, Edmonton, Calgary, Vancouver, hammer and sickle flags. More people have died for no reason, murdered under that flag than any other flag in history. If I walked down the street with a swastika flag, somebody would shoot me. But in Canada, you can do this. You can walk around with this because we're very ignorant, people.
Yeah, and I read that. I was just going to say, I read that report, though, that you mentioned, or read pieces of it, where it says when people really figure out how fucked they are, that's when it's really going to kick off. I have a feeling it's like that in America, too, when they really see... Because people have it in their head, somehow it's going to turn around, and it can't last forever, and it's like, nah, dude, we're in for like 20 to 50-year decline type shit here before we see any type of... I hope not. I hope I'm wrong, but that's just what it seems like, you know what I mean? So
I'm
hopefully
here for
I'm wrong.
It, though, man.
Yeah,
it's because the people say it's a black. It can be a black pill, but it's like you don't get to choose when you're born in history, and everybody has their own struggle in their own time. And would you rather be like an onion farmer on the frontier in the 1800s? And the most exciting thing that ever happened is a stray dog came onto your property that you couldn't find the owner to. Like that's what you have to look forward to. Then you cut your hand on a nail and die of tetanus. Like what a life. It's not great. It's not going to be fun. Entirely. It's going to be rough. But I mean. You're fighting for the soul of your people in Western civilization, for everything that our forefathers and grandfathers struggled and died to build and give to us, and it's being threatened. And if there was ever anything to fight and struggle for, I would 1,000 times over choose this than, relegated to a slave existence where the most exciting struggle I have to look forward to is the fucking Stanley Cup playoffs, where a lot of guys are still living in La La Land. So, I'm kind of thankful for it. It gives me my life meaning, and it makes me get up in the morning and care. Like I went to the gym twice today. I ran 10 clicks this morning, and that's why I was a little bit late. I was like, I'm gonna go to the gym again. I'm gonna go lift weights now because it's you got to get healthy and strong, and this is the world we're in. So I'm going to encourage a lot of people to do that, and that's the only way we can win. And if we lose, we lose. But make the most of it. It's better than living a pointless existence as a slave, which a lot of people are doing. So they've given us an opportunity. And it's a gift to have these communists walking around. So when people say, you're extremists, all I got to do is point outside and go, you like that? You see that shit on fire? You see those people? They're coming for you next. And the only thing standing in the way between them and your family is me. So, get in or get out of the way, bud. Right?
One last question, then I'm going to let you promote your stuff and talk about just your current situations going on and everything. Can anything like the Freedom Convoy ever happen again?
Absolutely. I don't see why not. I think it'll have to be a more outside the box thing. You can't do the exact same thing again. People try to do it again, but it just doesn't work that way. It's like you found a way into the castle and did some damage, but they sealed that up now, and it's not going to work. And they're guarding it. You can't do that now. They changed all kinds of laws and passed all kinds of things, so it's like illegal to do that now, and it's considered terrorism and all this kind of stuff. So just because they've done that doesn't mean it's over. It just, now you got to think of something else, because that was a novel outside the box. No one ever done that before. You got to think of something that they don't see coming, and no one's ever done it before. That's what I learned when I spent a brief period of time in the special forces here in Canada, and one of the things they teach you in the school there, in the leadership school, is like they go over like old scenarios and old things that happened in World War I and World War II, and One of them was it was a raid on a fortress called Eben Emael. It was done by the Germans over the French, and it was extremely fortified, like impregnable, like you're fucking suicidal to even attack this place. What are you going to do? So there was some German guy watching balloons or something, and he was like, "What if I just float over?" Like, no one sees this coming, and they're all waiting for the Germans, and they fucking fall out of the sky on top of their heads. And they're like, "Gotcha!" Like, you can't. What do you do, right? But then next time they're going to set up anti-aircraft guns and nets and all kinds of things. But that's when you're sneaky like that. You've got some kind of we've got this. We're very creative. We're very sneaky and smart. And there's always where there's a will, there's a way. That's true. And I may not be able to think of it. It may not be you, but somebody will. There's a lot of smart people out there, and when you really need to, we'll figure it out. But I don't know what it'll be. There'll be something. There's definitely a lot of popular will for pushback and change, and everybody's kind of dormant right now, and everybody knows the writing's on the wall. This government's toast. It's finished. They're chasing this around like that's their election platform.
Yeah.
So they're toast. And there's going to be a brief honeymoon. The conservatives will come in probably 6 months to a year, and then when nothing's getting better and everything's getting worse, it's going to be clear that this is not getting the libs out is not enough. And now what? And then things are going to probably start ramping up again. So we'll see. But as long as we're alive and as long as we're here and sticking together and working together and pushing back, it's like a fight, man. It's like a 5 rounds in the octagon or 12 in the ring or whatever. As long as you're standing up and still throwing back, like you can catch them. You can catch them sleep, and especially if they're really winning and really putting you to sleep. And like they get lazy, they start getting complacent, which is what they did in Ottawa with the truckers. When that happened, they said,
Hands
there's
slipped
no
down. Yeah, a little bit.
There's no trucker convoy. They said there's no, it's not even real. And then, a few days later, there might be some trucks, but I mean, it's not a big deal. Okay, well, there is a protest. They're going to come, but it'll be over in a day. Like they just kept blowing it. They were caught completely with their pants down. They didn't believe it. They didn't see it coming. They've lost touch with reality. They don't have their finger on the pulse of the people of this country at all. They're trying to say everybody, and they're really loving confused and torn up right now, trying to protect all these Jewish campuses and we need more Indians and stuff, completely oblivious to the fact that like 60-70% of Canada wants immigration to stop entirely. They're tired of this shit. They don't know what's going on. So again, there's a will, there's a way. We're not going to stop. People are going to keep pushing back, and the people you're pushing on are the weakest, most pathetic people in history. I mean, look who you're up against. It's not Benito Mussolini sitting up there. It's not Joseph Stalin. It's friggin' blackface sock boy and Millhouse and like a drug addicted witch woman. You've got folks, not a joke. Oh, my uncle, he was shot down, eaten by cannibals. Ate his heart. No, he didn't. Like, what is this? This is a joke. You know what I mean? Like, America's going to be taken down by this? Are you joking? Friggin' Pelosi and AOC. Like, come on. If America's going to be taken down, it's going to be taken down by a massive, brutal force of Chinese warriors or something. Not a bunch of champagne socialists and fat people and retards. That's not how it's going to go down. Stupid.
I'd agree with that. Now, can you update people here at the end? I kept you just a little bit longer than I said I was going to, so I apologize for that.
Problem.
But can you update people what's going on with your legal situation? Is that something you can talk about? I don't know if you can or not. Or
to some extent. I had 5 criminal cases against me in 3 different provinces. They were all bullshit. I've maintained my innocence from the beginning. I said, look, these are all going to get knocked down. I'm going to fuck them up. They're going to be embarrassed in court. And they've got 4 of the 5. It went exactly as I said. They've been defeated. They're gone. They were withdrawn, stayed. We have no case. They never had a case. It's pathetic. And the last one is is still in the process with me and my girlfriend now. And this was stemming from a peaceful protest on the street. There wasn't even noise. There was 6 or 7 of us with a sign. And they charged us with criminal harassment and, in full view of the police who watched us for 2 days. They just stood there and didn't arrest us. They didn't say we had to leave. Nothing like this. So the whole thing's a farce, but they're dragging it on and they're trying to, just turn it into the crime of the century and act like they feel like they're stopping Hitler, right? And we have to get these people. So they're just going above and beyond. There's multiple violations of, and not just in this case, all the other ones, rights violations, rights being trampled on, fabrication of evidence, destruction of evidence, collusion with government officials, politicians getting involved. It's ridiculous and lunacy. Morgan's been publishing the call-in number in this last case. So every time we're in court now, people can just call in and listen. Just be like, yeah, I'm just open court, baby. There's no publication ban. Let's see. And the last one was, so we did, more rights are being violated, more crimes are being committed by the prosecutors. And they're just like, we'll just keep going on. So we'll see how much public attention you guys like. We were trying to keep it quiet for a while out of respect for the courts, and let's just do the job and let it shake out where it is. But if they're going to start screwing around like this and trying to pull fast ones and act greasy and dirty, well, I got greasy, dirty weapons of myself too, and we'll have independent journalists crawling all over this place, digging into your lives and finding all kinds of stuff. You want to be famous? We can make you famous. We can make you popular. And hey, people just deserve to see what's going on in this country, and I think every courtroom in the country should be live streamed for whoever wants to watch it. You can just click and see. I mean, they do that in America, don't they?
Well, in some places, it's more common in America, but it's not universal. Yeah. I think it should be though. Every trial, it should be like, you just click on a channel, click on a courthouse, and whatever's going on in that courtroom, you should be able to see. It's the people's house, right?
I think so too. We pay for it. We're paying for this shenanigans, so I think people should see it. And if they don't like that, well, I don't want all this extra pressure. Then don't be a prosecutor, don't be a judge, don't be a lawyer. Then, okay, it's public service. You work for the public. They should be able to see what you're doing. But yeah, we're in the last case. Our trial is scheduled for mid-June. If it gets there, we'll see. We're waiting on some rulings from the judge. So far, they've ruled basically for the Crown every time, no matter how ridiculous and how insane it's been. I mean, they're laughing. My mother is in there, and the prosecutors are right in front of her being like, oh, this is going to be good. This is going to be a good day. Right in front of my own mother. They're just very unprofessional. One of them showed up drunk one day. It's but they're stopping Hitler. They're heroes in their own minds, and they're living in a, but it may get thrown out. They did some pretty egregious stuff, and some people, some legal, minds were pretty shocked at some of the stuff that's going on. And listen, if they want to take this all the way to trial and convict us and railroad it, so it's a judge only, because they did a summary indictment or a summary trial. We don't have a right to a jury. So if they want to do that, I will appeal everything. If they think I'm not going to, if they don't think I won't dip in and get another 100, 200K and fight this all the way to the Supreme Court, have every appeal, have everything overturned and studied and examined with a fine-tooth comb under a microscope, all this crazy, insane, nonsensical. We'll have the biggest, legal minds in the government in Ottawa and Toronto taking a close look at you and the things you're deciding to do. If that's what they want to do, I'm fine. I'm not hiding anything. I would look forward to it. I've said from the beginning, I would love to go to trial. I'd love to go to trial on any of these cases. 4 of them, they didn't have any interest. They ditched and bailed and popped smoke and ran away as soon as it got it was very obvious they were going to be embarrassed. This one, we'll see. But the trial's set for mid-June, and whatever happens. But I'm fighting it to the end, and I'm sure. I mean, I maintain our innocence. We didn't do anything illegal. You're allowed to protest, and you're especially allowed to protest people that wield authority to hurt the weak and then act like victims when they get called out for their shit. I don't. I'll stand up against that every single time, and I don't feel bad about it at all.
Well, best of luck to you both on that, and for some reason I feel good about it. I think you're gonna knock that down too.
My lawyer is very good. I think he's one of the best in the country. I lucked out to get him. He looks like we call him Photo Mercury. He looks like Freddie Mercury with the mustache. He represented me at the public order inquiry. Like he does the work, man. He's very, very good. And he's the kind of guy that wants to. He went to Toronto because that's where all the. I mean, if you want to be one of the top lawyers in America, where do you go to practice law? Do you go to Kansas? Do you go to Kentucky, or do you go to New York? All right. So that Toronto's Canada's New York, and he went in there, and he's excellent. So I've been flying him in, and to get a guy out of province, because when you're in small, Nova Scotia's a small kind of, it's like not a backwater, but you know what I mean. It's like one of those flyover states or a place where there's not a lot of, and so I flew him in here, and he's coming in, and it's going to be good. I'm not worried about it. And again, the jeopardy we're facing is very minimal. I mean, the maximum absolute sentence is 2 years. I have no criminal record, neither does Morgan. Maybe we'd get probation, or maybe I would get 90 days in jail, which is fine with me. I would love a vacation, no phones. I could just work out a couple months. I can make new friends in jail, recruit some more extremists. That's fine. And I would just appeal. I'm just going to appeal it anyway, and I might win that, and I'll just keep doing it. So, I'm not concerned. It's just, they're making you waste money and time and everything. And,
that's the real goal. Yeah.
All the real jeopardy I was in is gone. Like all those other charges, the gun charges, all that's been blown away. I'm getting all that stuff back. They're giving me all my property back. It's been a total, complete total victory, total epic fail on the behalf of the government. And the media is conveniently, they ran all kinds of hit. I'm probably the most slandered person in Canadian history. And they ran all these stories with all this stuff. Oh man, look what he's been up to. What a terror, what a piece of yeah, it was all bullshit. And they've got nothing to say now. They've shut their mouths right up. And that's how you've won. I said in a couple interviews before. They said, what do you mean? I said, when you won a fight in war, on a battlefield, you know what it sounds like? What does victory sound like? It sounds like silence, because your enemies are dead. And And that's what I see out of the media these days, a whole lot of nothing. Until the prime minister decides to say, I'm being attacked by a goat figurine, and now the specter has come back from the grave for another round. So, I'm here for it.
Well, I appreciate you coming back for another round here on the Kill Stream, and I'll hit you back up later in a couple months, I'll give you some time. Maybe after the trial, you could come back on and talk and give us a little update or something.
Right on.
Yeah, I
well,
would enjoy
we're going
that.
to... I'm going to, hopefully, unless I'm, incarcerated or dead.
Well, if you're in jail, we won't. But
well, we're going on tour in July, first week of July. I think July 5th we're stepping off. I think first date is Ottawa, July 6th, and we're going all the way to Vancouver, all the way to the Pacific Ocean and back. Oh yeah, we're making for like 20 or 30 stops because they're making everything online illegal. You can't talk online, so fuck it, I'll do it in person, which is way more powerful and fun anyway. So we're hauling ass. We're getting an RV. We're gonna be all over the place. We're gonna be uploading content and doing it all. So
wow,
that's happening this July. Oh yeah, I just booked a bunch of venues. I'm 30 grand deep into this already. I don't give a fuck. The worst thing they ever did was send me to jail. You know how I got radicalized? Who radicalized you? You did. I was just talking, and you decided to upend my life. You never pick a fight with a soldier. That's what he likes to do. So that's what we're doing. We're heading out in July. So tickets will be going on sale very shortly, hopefully sometime this week or next, by May 15th, I think, at the latest. And you can find information on that. We'll be on ragingdissident.com, or thegrift.shop is our kind of our grifty merch selling, garbage. You can
like
get it
there.
Yeah. Follow me on Telegram, t.me/ragingdissident, I, 3 I's for third channel for various reasons. We'll push it out there when it's ready to go, but we're looking forward to doing that. Morgan and I both, and Ferryman's coming, and Derek's coming, and the whole gang's going to be around. So very much looking forward to that. And hopefully someday, if I'm ever allowed to get a passport and they let me out of this forsaken hellhole and they take me off the watch list, I'd love to come to America and come down there and
that'd be awesome.
Party with all you guys, all you mean bigots and racists.
I still
down
have
there.
my passport. Yeah, I was just saying I could come back to America to link up with you. I don't know if they let me into Canada or not, but
probably not. They won't let me out. But I'm not trapped in there with them. They're trapped in here with me. They made a big mistake. So.
Now, also, they need to reinstate you on Twitter. They reinstated Fuentes today. I don't know if he has his account back fully yet, but I hope they take care of business there, too. I won't hold my breath, but...
I tried.
Yeah.
I appealed again. It was like, really? You're going to let him in, but not me? What did I do?
Crazy.
I was mean a couple of times? Come on, boys. We'll see.
It is ridiculous. But thank you for taking a little bit of extra time here tonight with us on the Kill Stream. And tell people about your Rumble channel as well.
Right, I appreciate it, man. Yeah, you can find them all. RagingDissident.com has all of my links that I'm allowed to still. Rumble primarily. I have an Odyssey channel. I stream on entropystream.live/ragingdissident, capital R, capital D. There's a Twitch channel. There's a Kick channel. There's a Telegram page. There's a Substack. There's a pile of stuff. But it's, just the .com is where you can find everything. And, yeah, Rumble's good. We're coming up on 10,000 subs there. So they've been a wonderful company to deal with. Very few problems. I was kind of concerned they weren't paying me for a little while. But
yeah, they have issues with that sometimes. It's not that they're stealing from you. It's that their financial department seems to be a little disorganized at times. And they always pay. But I've had a couple issues like that, too, where it's like, okay, I thought I was supposed to be paid today. And
and I didn't hold it against.
I don't hold it against you either.
If I go 2 months, you don't pay me, I might have to sue you. And it's not because I've been through it. YouTube banned me, confiscated all my money. D-Live too. Like, I've been through this before, man. So, I'm traumatized. It's like I'm ready to be hurt again, but not really.
Yeah, that's how I am. I'm like, I'm ready for them to try to fuck me over, and they don't. They don't ever. It's just they're disorganized a little bit behind the scenes. But it's
like I've had some bad relationships, and then I got together with Morgan, and it's like I'm just waiting for her to turn crazy and hurt me. It's like Rumble's gonna get me any day. They're like, no, I really like you, and I'm like, I don't believe you.
It's exactly how I am. I'm like, wait, hold on, what's going on here? But they've been good about it. Just a few little, they're still growing, and you got to get them a little leeway there. But I had the same thing happen to me. I'm like, dude, okay, it's been a little bit here. I got thousands of dollars of my money here. So, anyway, I like Rumble.
I don't need that. It's expensive up
right?
here.
Yeah, it's fucking cost to live, and thankfully I have a little
$9,000 for a carrot up here. Okay, you got to pay me.
Well, yeah. Well, thankfully, I have a little savings. You know, a lot of people don't, right? Like,
Yeah,
you know, that
right.
could sink some people if they didn't get paid for a month, right? Like, it could be all over.
Yeah,
but anyway,
for
thank you, man, for taking so much time tonight, and good luck
Absolutely.
in court, and good luck with your show, and Morgan, and everything else, man.
We'll do. I'll pass on. Thanks for having me, Ralph. Appreciate it. Great job.
All right. Thank you,
Love your
brother.
show.
All right. Thank you.
Cheers,
Talk to you
boys.
soon.
Pro Pat.
Isn't it swell? The memes make themselves. They found a rabbi hole, tunnels and all. There's Jews in the walls. Isn't it bliss? The rabbinical grace soiling the mattresses. Well, let me tell you. If I were Rabbi Shmuley and diddle 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 digga digga diddle diddle dum, all day long I'd diddle little bums. If I were a Shmuley man, I'd peddle all my dildos, dreidel dildos, selling dildos with my daughter and her mum. If I were a Jewish Shmuley man, I'd be digging with a dildo in my bum. I'd wear a grotesque nose and go grab some goyim right on the nipple with a pinch. A Shabbos lap dance brace for the youngest mensch.
On a scale of 1 to 10, how much do you hate shitty coffee? I, for one, really hate shitty coffee, which is why I'm excited to introduce to you a company that's revolting against shitty coffee, and it's called the 1775 Coffee Company. Now, I haven't had it yet because I only drink decaf. Steph has had it. Steph, how do you like it?
I really like it. I've been, you know what? I have a French press, and so I've been using my French press and totally enjoying it. It's delicious. It's smooth. It's smooth.
So 1775, the world awake. In 1775, the world awakened to a new era. And now it's 1775 Coffee Company is bringing you a coffee that embodies that revolutionary spirit. Crafted with passion and precision, our beans are ethically and exclusively sourced from the finest coffee beans farms of Bolivia. Didn't know that. 1775 Coffee Company's farm-to-cup journey ensures the highest quality of authenticity and sustainability from start to finish. With each sip, your palate will recognize and appreciate the dedication and passion that goes into crafting this single-sourced brew. 1775 Coffee Company takes pride in offering customers a truly exceptional coffee experience with their premium coffee collection. But their dedication to this revolution extends beyond the realm of taste. Safeguarding freedom of speech is critical right now, which is why 1775 Coffee Company has joined forces with Rumble in defense of one of our most fundamental rights, freedom of speech. Coffee that's sure to awaken all your senses, including the sense of freedom. So choose 1775 Coffee by going to 1775coffee.com/litter. That's LITTER, and use the code LITTER for 10% off the checkout on your first order. 1775 Coffee, brewed to perfection, crafted with revolution.